We're all set. It is so quiet here at Brookins. It's kind of amazing.
Well, there is offices open, right?
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's just
quiet.
very peaceful here. So
People are even playing pickleball there, I hear,
I
in
need
the
to
gym.
what? I need to go down
Yes.
and look, because I don't
I
know
tried to
what.
walk a couple weeks ago around, I think it was probably close to 11, and I was like, oh, I can't go in there. There was a lot of action in there. They have some pickleball courts set up. So
What is
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know if it's Tuesday and Thursday. There's a schedule, but a friend of mine who I used to play with that is had cancer chemotherapy for the last 6 months and couldn't play, is now back there. So,
wow?
but that's in the back part of the building.
Yeah, yeah. But it's true. Some of us, not me, go take healthy walks during the day down in the gym because it's available to us.
Yeah.
Never know what you'll find down in the gym.
Well, we're just waiting for people to come on. I don't seem to be able to get my iPad to have the camera, so it looks like I'm looking right into the camera.
This
And
looks
have,
good.
huh?
This looks good, what you're doing right now.
That's okay. All right. I'm not looking right at you, but if I turn it so that that happens, then I have to hold the iPad, and that's really very
Yeah.
kind of disconcerting.
Not good.
So I have a question, Lynn, before we get started. How many board members can we have, or are we supposed to have?
The DD boards by statute require 3 people. And then there's a special act for small boards, which allows, well, no, this doesn't come into play until this. DD boards can choose to become 5-people boards. And that happened a few years ago when the board members were quite frustrated at never being able to talk to each other. Like no 2 board members could speak to each other about business because that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So they elected to become a 5-person board, which is what we are now. But for the moment, it's a 4-person board until someone else is appointed.
Okay.
Which might take a while. The county process, can be a little bit time consuming, but
Okay.
but for a 5-person board, there's a special act that comes into play, which allows the quorum is 3, which means that 2 people can talk to each other. So that's kind of.
Okay. So the way we are right now, 2 people can still talk to each other because we are a 5-person board, even though
That's a good question.
we're not.
That's a good question because
Well-
without somebody seated, you may be a 4-person board to whom that rule doesn't apply. Stephanie, do you know? I mean, it might not take me very long to look up the Small Boards Act, or exception, but I don't know if it applies to 4-person boards. I just assumed it did. So this is a great question.
The DD board is still considered a 5-person board, even though 4 people are seated on it right now.
Okay.
There's 1 vacancy.
There's a vacancy, but it's still, from my understanding, it is still looked upon as a 5-person board.
Okay.
Okay. Now, are we looking for a 5th person to be on the board?
Yeah.
Because I have that person that I sent you the contact information,
right.
Indicated an interest, and I think that they would be a real valuable person on the board. Have you reached out to her?
I have not. It's
Okay.
been a pretty busy time.
Yeah.
We do have an applicant who submitted their stuff, I think about a week ago. So the person could apply. They don't have to go through me. It's,
Well, in this particular case, I think it would be really wonderful on a personal and community level if you would just reach out to her with a simple email and just say, I got your contact information from Ann Robin, and we would be very happy to have you apply for the board if you have questions. Yeah, I don't think she would
Okay.
be able to fill out that application without talking to you, because I found some of the questions difficult.
okay.
And I've been on the board for 3 years.
Yeah, that's okay. I get you.
Yeah,
Sure,
it-
I
it-
can
a
do
different
that.
application than the last time that I filled it out, I think. I don't know.
I think that it is. It's, that's all in the control of the county. They have their processes for a reason. I'm not part of any of that process.
Yeah,
So I can't answer for why the questions might have changed or even really what they mean, but I'll do my best. I know
yeah,
the
if you
question
just
you asked me was obvious to me, so. I
just
got
reach out to her and just say, you would be welcome. It's a process, it's not under my control, blah, blah, blah. That would make her feel good, because I did a personal contact with her. And so that would be good to follow up on that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah,
It may not work out this year, maybe another year.
no, I think that it would be really good to have applicants. Used to be, we always had lots of applicants for this board, and made tough choices for the county. But, for about a year, it's been a lot less.
Oh, yeah. We'll get back to that.
Okay.
Lynn, can I ask a question
Yeah.
kind of related to that? Have we always met at this time of day?
Actually, we met earlier, but it was made later because of at least one board member's request to not have it be so early.
Okay.
I would be
Also,
happy to
we
have
have
it
to
earlier.
we have to be here an hour ahead of time to set up the meeting. So that
Okay.
a little bit of, it's staff have to come in at 7 if there's an 8 o'clock meeting. So we also have tried different times of the day. We had it at noon for a while. We had it in the evening for a while. And there's always, the priority really has to be like whether this is working for board members, and those times didn't work for board members. This is different board members, so we could try a different time for sure. It's just, it has to work for you all. And then we have to be able to find a room too. And that it is a little tricky to book a room here, but we can sure look into it if people have a different time they'd like to meet.
The only reason I ask it, this, for me personally, this time works fine, but I think like when you said that we had fewer applicants, one of the things I thought about is that, if you're working, have a, 8 to 4, 9 to 5 job, this time does not work. And also if you are a parent or, you're dropping your children off at this time. So it's just kind of, a rough time, I think, but I mean, it works for me right now, but I'm just wondering if that is why potentially we don't have as many applicants.
And
But it sounds like we've been meeting at this time regularly for a while.
for many years, but and Ann is right, it used to be 8 o'clock for many years before that. But what we found when we moved the time around in order to accommodate more parents for the sake of public input, which, parents drive the DD system. It's really good to be able to hear from them. But we found that there was pretty much no time that works for parents. Like noon was maybe our best guess, but then that was really hard for agencies and board members, but evening didn't work for parents. So I love that we've been able to do this on Zoom, thinking that that might allow more public participation like that, but it really hasn't. So I just think parents have too much to do. Maybe that's too simplistic of a theory, but yeah.
No, I was just thinking about the lack of applicants, and that either people who have work schedules, you can't take off 2 hours once a month for this meeting,
Right.
or parents who, or family members who may also, but your point is very on point. There's no
It
good
could
time
be
for
more
parents.
similar to like what people have seen through COVID, that there are way fewer people applying for any kind of board service, especially volunteer board service. So, I mean, and fewer people wanting to do this work even for pay. So I've been wondering if it's in that category of things.
You're probably
Well,
right.
this is a very good discussion and it is after 9 o'clock. Do we have a
Right.
quorum here?
Everybody's here.
All right. Stephanie, would you do the roll call, please?
Deb Ruche,
Here.
Georgiana Schuster,
Here.
Kim Fisher,
Here.
Ann Robin.
Here. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got everybody's on Zoom. The next item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I will second it.
All right, any discussion about the agenda? Hearing none. Stephanie, would you please do the roll call?
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Deb Ruche,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. Okay, the next item is citizen input and public participation. We were just talking about that. Is there anyone from the public or a citizen that has input at this time? And as always, if someone comes forward later, we will make an exception and make a rule for them. Okay, the next item is chairperson's comments, and I don't have a lot of comments today. I do want to remind people that next month in April is going to be our very substantive meeting where each of the board members is responsible for several applications, being expert on them, and making a brief presentation to the group. In the past, we have tried to keep our presentations down to about 3 minutes, which means that you really have to summarize things. And that helps everybody. But if we need more discussion, obviously, we can spend more time on things. So next week or next month, we will be probably meeting in person. And I would recommend that board members budget their time so that they plan on being there for up to 3 hours. Hopefully it won't take that long. But last year, I remember it took 2.5 hours on Zoom. We had some things that we needed to discuss. So this is where we really discuss. And if we do a good job in April, then the meeting in May will be much more to the point, and we can vote on things without a lot of extra discussion. We also are inviting all people from the agencies to be there at both the April and the May meeting to answer questions in person. And I'm going to turn it over to Lynn at this point to correct or clarify anything that I've said and say what she wants to say.
You got it. So this is, for an in-person meeting. Hi. Oh, okay. Okay. So, so if we are in person, which the only reason that we wouldn't be in person is if the governor makes a proclamation extending the disaster further. Right now, that proclamation expires April 2nd. So we'll be in person. Anybody who is speaking to the board about a financial interest needs to be in person. This is just, I have not got clarification from the state's attorney recently about this, but it was something brought to my attention a few months ago that there is some concern. You can't have that input over Zoom if there's an in-person meeting. So agencies who have applied for funding should come to the Shields Carter room. We're going to crowd the room, but it is really probably the most important meeting of the year. You might not get asked a question. It'll be great to see you. I am talking to the county IT staff about how we might continue to have the Zoom piece in order for people who, like, if I were to get lucky and a bunch of families were able to tune in and watch what was going on, it might be of real interest to them. They can't provide a lot of input through it, but right now it's like a technical question too, so we'll try to solve that. So it would be potentially a hybrid meeting, but only in that sense, not, you know, for the board members and the agency and me, we have to be in the room. So that really, I think that's really the extent of my comments. I did put today's board packet into the chat in case anybody hasn't seen it. And I'm at the Shields Carter room in order to ensure compliance with the revised Open Meetings Act rules. This packet has a lot of information, just a few decisions, but like one of my most favorite decisions that I've ever brought. So I think I should stop talking and let you get on with it.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
Next item is approval of last month's minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from February as included in the board packet?
This is Kim. I move to approve the last month's board minutes.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion about the minutes? Other than thanking Stephanie again for excellent minutes, very clear. Are we ready for a roll call?
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
and Robin.
Yes. All right. And the next item also requires a board vote, and it is approval of the expenditure list on pages 8 and 9. Do I have a motion?
Move, this is Deb, to approve the expenditure list as presented.
Kim, I second.
Any discussion?
I would just like to say that it really looks pretty. Did Chris is there a new, it seems easier to read. I like it. Thumbs up.
I noticed that also.
There seems to be a new format. Yes.
I have a
Yes.
question. I have a question. What is in the treasurer's account, what is the admin fee? What is that referring to?
That is the, so the mental health board pays all the bills up front. It all comes out of that account. And then per the intergovernmental agreement between the two boards, the DD board pays 42.15% of almost all of those admin. There are a couple things that are not included because they're projects specific to the mental health board. But then, so it's based on budgeted. So at the end of the year, there's a reconciliation to make sure that it is actually 42.15% of the total eligible expenditures. I hope I said that right.
Thank you.
I have a question also. The third entry down under Champaign County Treasurer, is that to the Regional Planning Commission for the decision support program?
You know, Georgiana, I have to find what you're,
Well,
I
go up,
think you're
go
right.
back up to January,
Here,
and
this
that's
one?
the third. Yeah,
Right. Yes, that is correct. Because the Regional Planning Commission, their fund is managed by the county treasurer as well. So it looks like an interfund transfer, but it's payment for services agreed to through the contract, just like any other agency.
Okay.
Our community is unique in that I think this is the only RPC that does so much social service work through contracts. So. There are other ways our community is unique too. I'm really glad that you like this format. You know, Chris Wilson, he's on the call. He could, if he wanted to say this, but I'll say it. He looked at a lot of different options, and he worked with Stephanie especially on what might be the closest to what you have seen and might want to see. We understand that there are some details that might not show here. And so, just if you have questions, we can look for more details, but I'm glad you like it. I thought it was nice too.
Okay, are we ready for roll call?
Deb Rush,
Yeah,
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, and now we're on to new business. And we're going to pages 10 through 20. There's a briefing memo detailing how the funded IDD services were utilized by individual clients in fiscal year 2021. And I found that to be very interesting reading and also very well presented. And this is an information only. There is no action needed, but we could spend a minute or two discussing people's reaction to it, how they felt about it. If there are any comments.
I have a comment. I had lots of questions about it because I'm looking at it for the first time and I didn't understand everything. But are these various ways of showing the same data, like under the CCDDB funded program information, we're showing the various agencies and their programs and how many people were served for how many hours and how much money was spent. So you can look at that by, dividing how much money was spent by the hours spent and come up with a per hour cost. You can look at it that way. And then the next grouping, I guess, is profiles of people receiving services from multiple programs. I guess what I'm asking here is, this is just a lot of different ways of looking at what the agencies have done or are doing. Am I correct in that? Yes? Okay.
Or should I wait for board members to talk? I can wait.
Georgiana,
Lynn, yeah, Lynn, if you want to say something, fine. Also, I think Kim Bowdry put this together and did a lot of really good work on this. I found it very interesting. Kim Fisher, do you want to say something?
I do have a couple questions or clarifications, but I was just concurring with Georgiana that was my interpretation as well.
And let me get one of the sections, which is called Sample of Total Hours of Services by Program, which is on page 13. It goes from person A to person R. That's not all the people that were served, right? Those were just representative of the people served. Okay. And has this information, is this being presented in a new way for the first time this year, or has this been presented this way last year? Yes? No?
Don't think that we were able to do it last year. Whenever we have a staff vacancy for a while, like sometimes we're unable to produce as much as we like with the information. What's behind this is, for years and years, board members and public wanted to know specifically what's happening with the DDB funds. The DDB is not required to do an annual report, which the mental health board is, but the requirements of that report are simply a financial, the year-end financial statement. And that is done on behalf of the DDB. So if there were a requirement like that, it would be satisfied anyway. But we thought, because the questions were so prominent and because a lot of people really don't understand developmental disabilities or what services might look like, that we were trying to find ways to describe it, that agencies keep all this data. they weren't sharing a lot of it with us for a while. And then for a couple of years, people were just sending me spreadsheets that I was putting together manually into a separate spreadsheet to get this kind of information. And then when Kim Bowdry came to work in this role, she changed the reporting system itself to save everyone some time. So this is directly pulled from the data that the agencies report through the year. And then after we have all the audits, you can compare with the actual costs of the program. So that part, you're right, Georgiana, that is just a different representation of the data, but it is also a comparison with the audited cost data, which we have to wait quite a while for. So even though PY21 ended June 30th of 2021, it does take a while for all the data to be validated and then for the audit cost, the actual cost data to be available to compare with it. And it takes a minute to put this together, but it has been a few years since we presented it. But it really is presented to you and the public as a sort of summary report of what happens with these funds. It may not answer all the questions that people have. It might not even answer the questions people have more commonly, but it's based on the kind of questions we used to answer. One of the most important ones is, what about people who get services from more than one program? So the value of this is that Kim is actually looking at this on the individual level. Like, there is a really great variation in what a person might need. The first time we did this, we saw somebody utilizing a whole lot of case management services all of a sudden. And we were able to ask the agencies what's going on, and it turned out there was a medical event. So this is it just helps us to be able to explain what happens with the taxpayer dollars, and also to understand the utilization of services, which may help you in future planning. It may help us with recommendations. It certainly helps us think of the right questions to ask the agencies. I am talking way too much. Thank you, Kim Bowdry. She did all of this. I love it. Okay.
All right, any other comments or questions about this claims data?
So this is Kim Fisher. I have a couple comments and questions. So I just want to reiterate to Kim Bowdry and the team, like, this is really an excellent report. It was very easy to read, and I did, just like Georgiana, I had to go through it a couple of times to understand a little bit about, what the information was saying, but that's just because I'm novice, and it wasn't about the presentation of the information at all. I just needed to familiarize myself. So thank you so much. Can somebody define what so like on page 11, there is a section, programs and people with service level data. And I just wanted to know, what's the difference between an older child and younger children? Are older children like teenagers? Yeah, can somebody explain that or define that for me?
I guess the definition of younger children would be those children enrolled in the DSC Family Development Program and the Head Start and Early Head Start programs. That is the definition for that statement. Those were totaled in a separate line. There are some children who do receive some supports specifically from DSC's Individual and Family Support Program, and their ages may vary. They may be young children, but that specific statement of young children meant people enrolled in that program, in those two programs, or yeah.
And the children who are kind of served in Head Start or Early Head Start, are the services that they receive, would they be kind of like case management, or maybe like early interventionist comes and supports the Head Start teacher? Do we have any information about kind of what that service looks like?
I'm sorry, you said what the service for Head Start looks like?
Yeah, well, yes. And I guess actually, yes. So what that would mean, and okay, that's the disconnect, is about describing, helping to kind of describe what actually that service is. And
Yeah,
it-
we can't fund programs that the school is required to fund.
Mhm.
So that is thank you, Lynn, for pulling that up, because I wouldn't have been able to say it as eloquently as it's written there. That's what we fund. That's what they provide.
Excellent. That's super helpful, because then that was my kind of next question of like, how can I better understand when we say like 5 people are served with decision support and that kind of thing, just to kind of refresh my memory about what these programs provide. That's great.
So
and
this
then I
chart, this attachment would show you what the definitions were for PY 21. You know, some of the services are a little bit different in the year that we're in right now. And then yet again, different in the applications that you'll be considering next month. So, I mean, this is a very, very brief overview of each. There is a lot more detail available in the online system.
Great. I guess, and then my last question, question, I guess, would be, is there a way that we can present some of this or is there any discussion about kind of advertising, how much money or how these public dollars are spent on community residents as a way to better inform the public? So I'm thinking like, bar graphs, visual data, or some kind of way to present this information. It's presented so beautifully in the report, but many people won't sit down and read the report. And I'm just wondering if there's any place like on the county website where they just have like a scrolling, someone in marketing has like a scrolling visual of the different programs that are funded by the county services. And then if there is, could we get maybe a couple slides and put that information in there? But maybe that's just a pie dream. I don't know.
I don't know that the county has been able to spend that kind of money on like a dashboard so for many years, the focus of the county's website development has been on meeting the accessibility requirements of the ADA. And so you all probably use that county website pretty often. I use it every day. And it's not super easy to navigate, but I kind of know my way around now, sort of. And they have not been, I think these are very expensive products. So, everything that we present to you is available to the public for infinity on that website. And some of it is repeated on the online application website. Sharing things like this into social media is possible, but then it brings up like everything we do is still subject to the Local Records Retention Act of Illinois. And Illinois has not quite figured out how to require storage or for how long of social media accounts and information. And every time you change it, you have to hold the archive of the change forever. Like right now, it's a little bit daunting and we don't have the bandwidth to do that. Like we don't have the staff. We do have, some consultants who work with websites, and we could ask for these kind of products. We've talked about it with student groups, and this is the kind of thing that U of I students really know a lot about and can get very excited about, but you only get their engagement for a couple months. So we cannot escape that a usable dashboard that would do that for people in the way that they've become used to because of all the easy apps and other technologies is just going to cost some money. It's a great idea though. So we can continue to look into that. I agree, like Kim spent a lot of time on this. I love the data, but people don't tend to read long documents.
Right. But that's helpful context. So, and I don't want to say this, Kim, Audrey, I love this report and it's super helpful information. So I don't want to take any more time or take anything away from your report because this is really helpful. But thanks, Lynn, for that context.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the second new business review of the fiscal year 23 funding requests. This is for information only. This was presented last month and discussed quite a lot. Are there any questions about this or comments? The charge to the board members, and that includes myself, is to get online and get busy with these reports so that we will be ready 1 month from today, 4 weeks from today.
I have a question. I
Yeah.
always do. I see that we're each assigned as a primary on an agency and on a program and as a secondary. Is it allowed for us board members to talk to each other on, for example, I am assigned as a secondary with Anne on the CCRPC decision support PCP. And once I get looking at it, I would like to be able to call up Anne and discuss it over the phone before the April meeting. Is that allowed?
Well, we have done that in the past. And my understanding is that since we are officially a 5-member board, 2 members are allowed to talk to each other. So unless someone wants to correct me, the answer to that question is yes.
Okay. You can expect phone calls from me.
All right then. And just as a public comment, anybody that emails me, Lynn knows this, I do my emails not every day. Sometimes you get a response immediately because I happen to be doing the email, but it could be 2 or 3 days before I respond to your email. So definitely call me.
Okay.
I have a question. Should we be submitting our feedback and comments that are on page 10B to the staff, or is that form just for our notes?
That form is intended only as a helpful guide. You're certainly not required to use it, but a member of the mental health board who has since retired really spent a few years working on this process, and she came up with that form at the end of that. And so Kim has updated it for this year's applications. I don't know if it's helpful for you. Some of those questions are quite hard to answer, so it may not be helpful, but the staff are providing a great deal of analysis and also a summary, like a two-page cover sheet. So if you want to check in with us, we have some information already. It's all in draft form still, but it might also support you, especially going through that checklist and encountering questions that are really evaluative and not like, what page is this detail on? So.
Yeah, I have two comments about that. One is definitely call staff and ask questions. That's very, very helpful and useful. And I've done that in the past on multiple occasions with these kind of things. And the other is, Lynn, you were telling me yesterday that we can approach this from a very optimistic point of view, that we may actually have enough money in the budget to fund the requests. So we're not in a situation we've been sometimes in the past where we have to cut things, that we can really be looking at what are the strengths of programs and say positive things about them. So it's actually a more positive approach than we've had to do sometimes in the past.
We're really at the beginning of the budget process. The county doesn't even start the 2023 budget process until June. So we always have to do it first, just because of the timing of the revenues, the type of revenues that we rely on, and then the type of contracts that we issue puts us in this odd position. We have to start budgeting very far in advance. So my second time through with slightly updated information showed that this is probably affordable. And if that's helpful to you all, yay. Sometimes that doesn't help everything. We still would want to have contracts that address or contracts that address any issues, and we might want to ask agencies to work together on certain things. So this is the time for like wish list, we have a minute to develop from all these applications what you want to see for next year. And I'm pretty optimistic that we can afford it, so.
Okay, any other comments on that? Okay, I'm going to move on to the successes and other agency information. Who would like to start?
This is Patty. Probably a few others will mention some successes, but I just wanted to introduce Nicole Smith is here this month. She's the new director of our family development program. She joined us in August. But the funding for the Family Development Center comes through the Mental Health Board. So she attends those meetings every month. And I just wanted her to kind of go through the process the next few months with us and just recognize that, and she is a speech language pathologist by trade. So very familiar with the EI system and has already made some really good strides to expand access to service in her short time with us. So I just thought I would introduce her. Well, she's here with us today.
Hi, Nicole.
Welcome.
Thank you. Did you want to say anything, Nicole, or you just want to smile at us and we know what you look like now?
This is me. Hello. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for having
Meet you,
me.
Nicole.
Hello.
Okay, thank you for your work. All right, who's next?
Hi, this is Annette from DSC. I wanted to give an example of how one person's recent success is the result of participation in all three pieces of the Employment Services Program. Just before COVID, a young man who had graduated from high school years before, his parents had finally convinced him to look for a job. And after 2 years of really only having social connections with 2 or 3 friends because of his anxiety, he really needed some support and help kind of reacclimating and having connection with people. The most important thing for us is that their first experience is positive. And so initially it was just helping this young man keep his head up, speak in a high enough voice. COVID hit. And so again, that was a setback. And what we did in the interim, he began participating with our Community First program, helping to clean the parks so he could work independently, but yet in proximity of other people. At the same time, the job coach, our job developer, was still working with him and helping him get used to the idea of going in and meeting with employers. Also along the way, he started participating in our Community First program through connections, and he participated in a creative writing group. And about 2/3 of the way through the group, they were talking about things they were thankful for. And his writing was about really being anxious about participating and meeting new people, but he was thankful that he had done it because he was enjoying the group. And so all 3 programs were kind of working in tandem, helping this young man. Last week, so the next step then also was doing a seasonal job, which he knew was very short term. And he had a very positive experience with that. And then recently, he applied for 3 jobs. 2 of them, he was comfortable sharing what he didn't like about the environment. The 3rd job he applied for and was offered the job last week. And after initially kind of having some cold feet about it, we think he's accepted the job and will be working 15 to 20 hours a week. So it really took all 3 pieces of the program to help this young man feel confident enough to move forward.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great news. And thanks for sharing the journey, because I think it's helpful to understand that context. So congratulations to him and the team.
Yes.
Okay, next.
I can go. This is Becca Obachowski from Community Choices. I had a couple of things just to kind of, I guess, piggyback off of the net. We've had a couple really kind of nice successes with our employment department in the last couple of weeks. We had three individuals recently get hired, and one of those young men, he's somebody that I've actually worked with like for a very long time, back since he was like in elementary school, and so he has since graduated from high school. We have helped him kind of find a job for the last, it's been just over a year. He had one opportunity that was also a short-term kind of opportunity, and just last week he got hired at this like small local business, and it's going really well, and they're really supportive, and he's really liking it, and it's been a really lovely to kind of just like for myself, like to be able to see this person kind of like grow up and then find this like nice sort of spot where he is feeling really confident and comfortable. I also just wanted to share that our human rights and advocacy group has been really doing some amazing work. They recently put together a presentation that really focuses on kind of their experiences as people with disabilities and what that is like to live in this world, as well as just kind of trying to break down some of the myths about folks with disabilities. They were able to present it at a special ed class on campus at the U of I with excuse me, Dr. Emily Tarkanish. And they did such an amazing job. It was a really wonderful presentation, and we were actually able to record it. So you are able to watch it if you want to. It's on our Facebook page. You will unfortunately have to look at the back of my head because I didn't like put the camera quite right. So my apologies about that. But we were like really blown away with how like they did such a great job. And to be able to see that group really sort of expand their public speaking ability and their confidence has really been great too. So I hope that you guys do take a minute to watch that. I think it's about 25, 30 minutes long. So.
Okay, thank you.
That's
Anybody
great.
else?
That's great news.
Yes, I'd like to speak about a recent situation that we had in our community living program. We had an individual that was living in the community with his parents in a trailer, and we had him go ahead and join us in community living with the hopes of working with him to eventually move out on his own. Unfortunately, the living situation that he was in was not acceptable. They, during the cold winter, did not have heat. He had a small space heater in his room. The pipes were beginning to bust. We feared that there was no running water. The windows, doors were all kind of shattered. So it was a really significant crisis situation. Happy to say that he did get an apartment at CU Independence, moved in, and I got to see him yesterday, thriving, smiling, safe, secure, and it was very rewarding to see that happen. He came into the apartment with nothing. He brought in minimal from his apartment or his home. During the time that he was there, his parents were staying at a hotel, and he was left to stay at the trailer by himself. So we even gathered and rallied at DSC to provide some essential living items, a bed, a couch, chair, table, silverware, plates, whatever we could do to get him started. And I think it was a huge success to see him just beaming yesterday. I just know like his basic needs are being met now, and that's what we're all about. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Sarah, thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
And I'm glad that he's in a better situation.
Is there anyone else that has something to present?
I don't have a story. I just wanted to add with the They Deserve More campaign, witness slips for today would be great if you are interested in submitting those, because I think that will make a difference in these last like 7 or 8 days of the budget.
Do you want to clarify exactly what you're talking about?
Yeah, there is bills, and there's a witness slip for the House bill to get approved, and I thought it was due tomorrow, but I saw something today. I think they want them today. basically, if you go to the They Deserve More, we can forward it. I think Lynn had sent it out recently, but on the Facebook page, you can find a link to submit your witness slip, and it tells you exactly what to do on there as well.
Okay, I thought that's what you were talking about, and I wasn't exactly sure.
Yeah, there's
I
a
did-
last push today, so I just wanted to, if anyone was interested, they haven't had a chance. That would be
Lynn, you
great.
sent that out yesterday, I think, or day
I've
before
s-
yesterday.
Yeah, I sent a couple days ago, I sent the plea, the rationale and the link to witness slips. And then yesterday, and thank you so much for replying about this. I sent out Ed McManus's, steps for how to fill out
Yeah.
witness slip, because
Yes,
it is a process.
It
and
is
that-
very helpful to have that. I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did it yesterday, and I would not have been able to do it without the directions specifically, because I didn't know what those categories and those statements meant, and it would have stopped me cold. So Ed McManus's directions are very good. And this is something that all board members and other people can do. Anybody who's on this call can do. It took me about 5 minutes
I think
following the directions.
what the tip that Danielle just gave us, that maybe They Deserve More on their Facebook page, have the
They
breakdown.
have the link on there, I believe.
I'm going to put this into the chat because I think, folks who are on the call right now might have 1 minute and then they can do it. So I think I found it. It's their pinned post, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm going to put that into the chat for anyone who's interested. This, I don't mean to be coercive. I have to be very careful.
But it's definitely optional, but anyone who would like to do it would be great.
There you go.
Okay. Well, thank you to everybody that participated in that. If someone comes up with something later, let me know. I'm going to move forward to item 12A, premium pay for essential DSPs. There have been people doing some specific work on this. And who wants to talk about this?
Well, this is in response to Dr. Fisher's request of last month. So what I've put into the board packet here is a collection of documents that I will forward to the county board after this meeting for inclusion in their next board discussion, which will be April 12th. And then I'm going to go to that. It's a committee of the whole meeting. I'm going to go to that meeting just to be available to answer questions and to give, what they told us to do is give public input. And then if this is in their board packet as a communication, they may then be able to discuss it. But if it's just public input, they can't discuss, like it's against the rules to engage in a discussion. So this is what I put together as the cover memo. And then we found They Deserve More has some really great looking materials that are really to the point. We tend to trust that They Deserve More coalition because it's a very big coalition using facts and working on this for a lot of years. So, we feel aligned with this advocacy. And then there are some letters, personal statements from people who are directly affected by it. It's family members of people with developmental disabilities and a DSP. So I like what we got, but Dr. Fisher, this was your project. So if you want to talk about what we've got and what you hoped for and what we should do next, I'll stop talking.
I'd like to jump in and before Dr. Fisher talks and just publicly thank Becca Obuchowski for putting me in touch with Paul Blowbaum and Barbara Jewett, both of whom submitted very compelling letters, and I thank both.
So I don't know that I have anything to add in terms of this, except for I have on the memo, love this, the memo that you wrote, Lynn. So it is phenomenal. It's very succinct, and it is exceptionally compelling. So thank you for putting that together on behalf of us. Thank you to the people who submitted witness accounts, or I was going to say, I think witness slip is in my head, but personal stories. I think that is really helpful. as well as the They Deserve More information packet. I guess I just would like to know from the board about how we can best present this information, what kind of public comment we might have. So I did speak to a couple people who weren't able to get their letters in time to submit the materials to us and then to the county board. But I did say that I would get in touch with them in early April to see if I could either, one, encourage them to come to the committee of the whole meeting, or two, if they had a statement they would like me to read, I could read it at public comment. So I have initially had thought I was not going to be able to make the April 12th meeting because I have class typically at that time, but it turns out I do not have class at that time. It's a writing day for my students. So that's excellent. I can actually go to the county board meeting. So I will join you, Lynn, in speaking up at public comment. I guess I just want to know, how do we want to present this information in public comment to the county board, if anybody has any feedback about that?
Is this county board meeting going to be in person? Yes. And is it open to the public? So we could all show up if we wanted to. Yep.
That'd be great. Yes.
And people who have something to say, like these people who wrote letters, and they could show up also, and people who didn't get their letters in on time could show up and speak. But will there be lots of people there vying for this funding? Is that, I mean, will we be given a limited period of time to say what we have to say?
Well, we're not responding to an agenda item. We're creating an agenda item. They're not currently considering requests for funding, but because they're like you, a public entity, which has that, creates opportunities to listen to the public, and you're a board, so like it's very appropriate for you as a board to show up and speak to them as a board, especially during public input. And I think they'll appreciate the information. Like we were talking about earlier, people don't typically understand developmental disabilities or the system of services or the insufficiencies in the system because it doesn't directly affect them. So you're not responding to an application, an RFP or an RFQ or an open allocation system, but it could lead to that. They might ask for a specific proposal, and then we would develop a specific proposal. In the background, I've spoken with our attorney about what are the valid uses of DDB funds, and this is not one of them. So if the county board were concerned, why aren't you guys doing it? The reason is you can't. It's, and then he also responded to several of the ideas that we've been kicking around for what might happen with the SILA fund in the future. So he gave, he's very careful. If the statute doesn't say you can do it, you can't do it. So anyway, just prepared in case that question were to come up. I think it's fair for the county board to ask us, what are we doing about the problems? And I think we can respond to that if they do ask it. But that was sort of the purpose of the cover memo, to kind of let them know what we're doing and what is appropriate for us to do toward this catastrophe. So I love the idea. If people want to come and speak, they usually give you 5 minutes, no matter what you want to talk about. They can't respond to that, but they can respond to whatever we submit to them for their packet.
So just to summarize, Lynn, this is something we would be doing public participation, citizen input part of their meeting. We're not specifically on their agenda. You've created this spectacular packet, which will be submitted to them. And the question is, will it be part of their board packet or not be part of their board packet? And you don't know that right now.
I think if I get it in on time, it will be. Whether they do anything about it is up to them.
Okay, so if it's part of the board packet, that would be great, because then whoever is speaking could refer to that in the board packet, and then they could look at it. And you're saying that the total amount of time would be no more than 5 minutes. So whoever is speaking has got to really get their points succinctly and refer to the document and make their main points. Because you got 5 minutes.
And I think it's actually 5 minutes per person in public comment. So each of us could have 5 minutes potentially. That's my understanding, because it's public comment.
Speaking as somebody who sits on the board, I mean, you can do that, but if you do that, you're just making their meeting last a lot longer, and you may lose people's interest. I don't know. I mean, Lynn, you may have a better idea about that. Is it better to have, 5 people and we really, hammer our point home and have a big emotional impact? Or is it better to just present the facts and refer to the document and maybe have somebody there just to say, well, here's an example of a person who is served by this? That's a logistical and strategic question.
And I've watched a lot of county board meetings, especially when they're talking about what to do with the ARPA funding, and they do tend to get overwhelmed. And like you, they can limit the total participation to 20 minutes or something like it's in their rules. I may not be right about how much. So, I have seen at times them requesting that everyone who's come to speak on a particular topic keep it limited, but I still think there's value in hearing from you as the board. If Dr. Fisher is going to be there to do that, that's great, and maybe from a person who's been directly affected by this, because I think that's why we all relate to it, is because we know the human impact. And I go around in the world expecting everybody else to understand this, but why should they? So that what you just said about emotional impact could be really key.
Okay, so it would be good for the people that are going to be doing this to have a little discussion. And because they're mostly not board members, they can discuss as much as they want, right? We can have 2 board members discuss, but no more than 2 board members. But staff and board members and clients and direct service providers can discuss how they're going to coordinate what they're going to do, so that people know what they're going to do. Does that sound fair?
What time is the meeting on April 12th? What time is the meeting?
Well, I was going to look it up, but it's hard for me to look it up because I've got our agenda pulled up. It's usually 6 or 6:30, but it is one or the other of those times. So let me see if I can find that for you, and I'll put it in the chat because that's a really important question.
I think Patty has her hand up. Anne, can we have?
I don't see any, maybe I don't have the right thing for what people have hands up. Somebody have their hand up?
I see Patty's hand up, but maybe it's
It is. It's on purpose.
Okay.
I was just going to share that Jess, who the DSP that had the writing in that packet, she has indicated that if it works for her schedule, that she'd be willing to go. And what she was sharing with me is that in her role now as a manager in the residential program, her perspective is even greater because of the staffing shortage and how she's affected with trying to schedule and the turnover and the hiring. And so it's kind of, she's got several layers of experience with that and feels like she could contribute a little bit more with that. So that's something, if you guys decide that you would like to do that, we can connect you to her.
Sounds fabulous.
Excellent.
Thank
Lynn
you.
found 6:30 on Tuesday, April 12th.
So I guess is the next step,
wonderful.
Lynn, should we, do you think we should, or I'm sorry, board members, maybe send an announcement, like just to remind people, maybe a week out from the meeting, that this is what we're going to be presenting. And if anybody wants to join, they can. And then I guess in our personal networks, we can send out information again to the agencies, just to remind them about presenting this information at the county board meeting, just because we don't want people to forget that, you know, and we're meeting with the week after, or week or two after. Because those emails are helpful to reminders that you send about upcoming things for us to kind of pay attention
Oh,
to.
good. Well, you know, I think the people we're most interested in are not on my email list. So, but Kim Bowdry has a very extensive email list of DD advocates, and right, am I right, Kim? And then making sure that the agencies who are here know about this too, because they know people. Does that sound all right? So the first step is, if y'all are okay with it, I'm going to hit send on my email to the county with these documents.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen. Yes.
I thought the
Emphatically.
testimonials were amazing. Personally, I was really amazed at what we got. It was not what I was expecting. So, I mean,
I concur. Thank you so much for putting that together. And thank you so much to the people who were contributing. So fabulous information.
Yes. So just to wrap this up, do we have a point person who's going to be making sure that people are aware of what's going on and who's expecting to speak? I think it would be great to have the DSP person give her perspective. It would also be great to have a client there who'd be willing to just show up and say, yes, I get these services and they're extremely important, or a family member, in addition to board members. So who's going to be coordinating that?
I can coordinate that, because I think, didn't we discuss at the last meeting that we didn't want to put this on staff to kind of do all of it unless staff wants to do it. I'm happy to be the point person.
I mean, we could, but we've got a big project. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know. We sure could. I just, like I'm saying, I don't have the right connections. So if I could do it. And I agree with you, like giving people notice a week in advance, 2 days in advance is very helpful. So, I mean, I can certainly do that, but I'm going to need some help from you guys about exactly who I'm reaching out to and what you'd like me to be asking them.
So am I hearing that Kim Fisher and Lynn Canfield are going to communicate with each other, and that those two are going to communicate with everybody else?
I think Deb maybe was going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say that I have it on my calendar to connect with Barb Jewett and Paul Blobom a week before, and again, a couple days before the meeting, to see if they are interested. They both expressed interest in potentially attending when they submitted their letters. And so I will follow up with them and see if they are, number one, going to attend, and number two, if they're interested in speaking.
Wonderful. Okay. Any other comments about this, or shall we move on to the SCILA update? We started the meeting about 5 minutes late. We're now at just over an hour on the meeting. And I think the SCILA update is the last thing that we need to have a little discussion about. And I'm going to turn it over to Lynn, because you know all about.
Well, I guess what I want to say to you all is, like, finally, something you can vote on that might be like, I don't know how you feel about it, but we've got 2 decisions here. This update is out of date now. I heard from the realtor yesterday who's been working with a potential buyer on completing all of these things. There were some that were not, that were waiting, or the work order had been placed. Apparently everything is completed now. And we have a revised offer from the potential buyer with the rationale for the offer is attached to this memo, because I thought you should see it. I thought it was, making a really good case for coming in at 275,000. And so the decisions are, there's also market analysis attached, providing the rationale for if we do relist the property to list it at 285,000. Again, anything could happen with the market. So we've got 2 motions here. One is to respond to the immediate offer. And then the second is sort of a contingency, like to allow us to relist if you, either if you don't approve that offer, if the mental health board doesn't approve that offer, or if something goes wrong. So, and I think the offer has a closing date of April 15th, but you know, this next couple of weeks is getting really crowded for me. So we might ask for a little bit different closing date, not sure, but the first things first, I need to find out what you all think about these two actions.
Okay, I'm going to open for someone to move to authorize the executive director to accept the offer on the Englewood property at $275,000 pending CCMHB approval.
Okay, I will make that motion to authorize the ED to accept that offer at 275 CMHB approval.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, now, is there any discussion about that? Okay, are we ready for a roll call?
Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Deb Rush,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right, now the second motion is in case the buyer backs out. Am I correct on that? That we have a motion to authorize relisting in case this deal falls through.
Or, well, the mental health board also, you know, might not, like if something, I would not expect them to not do the same thing you've just done, but
Okay.
anything could go wrong. So
So you need this as a contingency.
yeah.
So in case the number one is our first favorite, this is what we really want. But number two is the contingency in case number one doesn't happen.
Okay, again, move to authorize relisting of the Englewood property at $285,000 pending similar approval.
And I'll
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. I would like to make a friendly amendment because I did not understand that number two was a contingency plan. So I would like to make an addition as a friendly amendment that this is a contingency plan in case the sale does not go through as approved.
But also, can it be, the mental health board might not approve the sale too. So there are two contingencies, I think.
Okay, well,
spirit of
let's put the contingencies in there because to me, this was confusing. We were approving two things. One was a sale and the other was relisting.
Well,
We're
let me
not
ask you,
we're
you're-
not
you're-
directing you to relist.
Right, but there's also, just for clarification, you've already signed a resolution which was notarized that allows me to sell the house. So this is all for the sake of transparency. So it would be a little weird for me to accept the offer on the house and then relist it. I think you guys.
Well, yeah, it would. That's why I thought it was kind of strange to have that on
I think
there.
as my supervisor, you could say, hey, we've got a problem. If I were to do something like that, that
Yeah,
would be super weird. So this is why I didn't create any contingencies, because I thought like it's, you know, it's.
Okay, well, maybe that's not needed. I thought it was a point of clarification that maybe it's not needed.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine with me if you amend it. I thought I had it covered just because like you could call me up and say, what are you doing?
Yeah, I just
It
didn't
would
want to
be
approve
illegal.
something that looked weird to me. That's all.
Right. Okay.
So I would like to modify it and say that this was in case the sale does not happen, we're authorizing you to relist.
That
What
would be
about the-
easy enough to do.
So do you want me to try to reword that motion then?
Well, we can modify it.
That
There's a
The motion
modified,
to author-
yeah. That this would go into effect in case the sale does not happen in a timely fashion.
Okay, so then the motion to authorize relisting of the wood property at $285,000 in the case that pending sale does not move forward, pending similar approval by the CCMHB.
Okay,
I got it.
I like that better. It just,
So do we need a second on that?
I'll
Since
second
it's
it.
modified?
Okay. So, Deb, would you like to reread the motion as amended?
Move to authorize relisting of the Englewood property at $285,000 in the event that the pending sale does forward, and also pending similar approval of side of the CCMHB.
Okay. Can we have a roll call vote?
Deb Rush,
Did someone second Deb's motion?
Yeah, we
Georgiana,
did. We had. a
Georgiana
second.
did,
Yeah.
yeah, yes,
Georgiana did. Deb Rush said yes. Okay, Georgiana Schuster,
Yes.
Kim Fisher,
Yes.
Ann Robin.
Yes. All right. Well, that is forward progress. That is forward progress with a hopefully very happy outcome. And the rest of the meeting, is there any CCMHB input? They're having a meeting tonight.
Yes, their meeting is, has even more information than this board packet, if you can believe that, because they are required to do an annual report, and there are a bunch of reports within that report that they like to see. So it's quite a bit longer.
Okay. And staff reports, again, thank you very much to staff for your reports.
Could I add, so a
Yes.
whole bunch of my report is notes from the National Legislative and Policy Conferences. And I take that part of the staff report and turn it into, like, just send that part to the county board members and to the members of our state association, because the state association pays for me to go to it. And the county no longer is able to send representatives to those conferences. So I'm sort of, you know, they also pay for all the membership fees for NACO, the second one. So it's I don't know if anybody cares or they read it, but there's a whole lot of stuff covered that would be of interest to them. So you're not the only ones who have to suffer my really long detailed notes. I make everybody else look at them. That's all.
Well, and they're available as public documents, which is important.
I had a couple questions or comments actually about the schedule coming up. The important dates is on page 49, or actually on page 40, or on page 50. I see on the 22nd of June, we have a draft of the fiscal budget. And I didn't see where we finalized the budget, which meeting we finalized the budget in.
Because you're going to end up, so you'll vote on an initial draft before I talk to the county, because you and the mental health board, you are responsible for the budget, but there's some, you know, the county has the oversight of the whole thing. So then I'll take that to the county, they'll modify it, they'll give me updated revenue and expenditure estimates. So it'll come back to you maybe as early as July to approve a revised budget. And then almost always, and the county looks at it, and county board, I'm sorry, in late August, and they'll respond to the budgets, which could change what we're doing. So you might see the budget again in September or as late as November, because the county doesn't do their up or down vote on the budget until November. So it's really, this is just the first draft, but I do request approval because I don't want to go to the county with something y'all haven't seen and, you know, and said yes or no, or had your opportunity to make revisions. So.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
And I think I sent the first draft to everybody a couple weeks ago.
Mhm. Then I have a couple other comments about your director's report. So thank you so much for all this amazing information about the different speakers that were at these conferences. So I have a couple questions. On page 59, when we're talking about the DD board's current 3-year plan goal, in item 2, it says that we're committed to improving outcomes for members of underrepresented and underserved populations. Do we have have we operationalized a definition of who that is? And if we have, I didn't see any in Kim Bowdry's report. So I didn't know if this meant Black residents with developmental disabilities, Latino residents with developmental disabilities, people who are, I didn't know which group we were talking about.
Right.
So can we have an operationalized definition? And then if I would love to see data on this to see if are we indeed prioritizing money for those groups, and how we're doing that, or how agencies are doing that. And maybe it's in there, but it's potentially I missed, because I worry that it would get lost in the shuffle, and that we could maybe make a better emphasis in that we want to make sure that people who are truly underserved and underrepresented have an opportunity to get some of this money for services and things like that.
So historically, based on census data, and we have provided some of these data before, this is very much a discussion point, and it shows up in a lot of our reports. It's just not in Kim's. She could run full demographic and zip code aggregated data, but the pain points are supported by census data. The pain points are people living in medically underserved townships, which have become less populous over the last 10 years. So the risk is higher. It is a fact that they've also lost access to some providers. And so one thing the DD board does about that is you pay these agencies to drive out, to provide, no, the state won't pay for that. This is one of the problems with the service models that the state defines, is they are based on the most populous area of the state, and they don't translate very well downstate. And even here, when, where we do have a large urban population, we also 90% of this county is farmland. So it takes 45 minutes to get to a crisis on the other side of the county. So that's a big piece. Like you have the action step of supporting funding for the transportation to those areas. I think a dream that is very distant is having like centers, like hubs in the rural environments. The libraries may be the best thing to tack onto, but not everybody uses the rural libraries, and they're open really limited hours. So those are, and then the other pain points in this community absolutely are Black and brown populations and the growing immigrant population, who often don't have the easiest language access. Their cultural needs are not well understood. Some of them come over, as like highly skilled, credentialed professionals themselves, and then can't work. So they have to make a choice, like, go all the way back to school, to become a doctor again, or work in the service industry in order to feed the family. So we're piling some trauma on top of trauma. And so this may be less relevant to the DD set of services, but I'm sure it relates. So we do have, in the next board packet, you're going to have long form analysis of each program. I'm not sure anybody ever reads these, but they do include analysis of the demographic and zip code data that each agency has reported over the last year and a half. That's always in there. It doesn't really attract a lot of attention. It's not in a graph form. It takes us a great deal of time to do these analyses and these reports. So they're not like the easiest to look at, but the information is there.
Okay, great. So there is demographic. So it got the zip code thing in rural or medically underserved communities, rural communities. And there's demographic data. So that will have race or ethnicity data. Does it also have immigrant status? Like, so when the agencies like report, send in their applications, well, they say this is the number of immigrants that we serve. This is the number of Black people we serve. This is the number of Latino. I think probably race they conclude, but maybe not immigrant status.
Yeah, we have not been asking for immigrant status or language use, but probably time, because that is the growing part of Champaign County's population. And it's the trend of the world. So we do need to, this is why we have cultural and linguistic competence plans required of every agency. They are to address language access, and then we get semi-annual progress reports from the organizations on that. But counting the number of immigrants served and the type of languages in use is a whole different thing. We haven't done that yet. I think that.
I just want to make one comment about that. I appreciate that this is really important information to provide services to people. It is also information that could be used, that people could be afraid to give that information, just as we found in the US Census when the question about citizenship was going to be on the US Census. A lot of people who would have participated in the census did not participate because they're afraid that that information is going to be used to track them because they don't have the right kind of documentation. So I think that when we're interested in getting the right kind of data and our intent is to serve people, we also need to recognize that there are people out there who are legitimately worried that they're going to be tracked for the wrong reasons.
So that
Great
may
point, Ann.
Discriminated.
that
Yeah,
maybe
that's a great
suggests a
point.
different approach, which is often more effective for us than just requiring more data. Like we could actually just ask the agencies, and some agencies serve, like they know everybody they serve. This is more true with the mental health agencies. Some of them are quite small and could give us just in the form of comments, could give us, real-time data on these. Yeah, and you're right. So
because when people are required to give information,
right.
Unfortunately, we live in a potentially hostile environment.
Great point, Ann.
Larger environment.
Yeah. I wanted to, on page 60, you mentioned that at the Roger Ebert's festival, they're gonna do an anti-stigma film potentially. So I just wanted to highlight that for anybody who is here. It looks like the Alliance for Inclusion and Respected and hasn't decided on a film yet, but that's kind of cool that they're going to do something at the event. And then I had another thing, but I think I lost it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for all those comments and discussion. Are there any board announcements? All right, I think we are adjourned and everybody needs to be prepared for the next meeting being our big work meeting. And keep our discussion certainly open, but also focused. All right, thank you.
Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
You too.